here we go. First match of the day is myself up against BBB's Tano Sigmar, as I have decided to call him. And I'm going an Ice Power style of build with Skirmishers, the Marathi double Manticore combo, and a crazy amount of cavalry. Gonna be a few Skirmishers moving up to start, and the Scourge Runner chariots can trade decently into them. I'll just have to do a little bit of dodging, and then I shouldn't take too much damage from them. The Dark Rider repeater crossbows too do pretty well here, as they have very high DPS, and right off the bat we're already killing a good number of skirmishers. Now this is a kite style of build, so I have very little infantry, as I don't really plan to take ice power, or not, where I don't plan to take on my opponent in a straight up fight. Instead, just going for that hardcore skirmish style, just picking off targets where I can, essentially. I'll need to be very careful with all my cavalry, and quite opportunistic with my engagements, making sure that none of my Scourge Runners get caught by stone trolls, and same with and yeah, just picking off whatever I can, chasing off units. Looks like one of my Scourge Runners does actually get caught out by a Mither. Just a misplay from me, not realizing that there was a Mither to really worry about. It looks like the Scourge Runners might get chased off, but there is a very large blob here, and a potential opportunity to punish this situation. I could pick off a few goblins here, and I think I will, but for this Scourge Runner, I will actually bring in Marathi and my Slaanesha's Harvesters, and actually try and get a nice Soul Stealer in on this situation. Be able to hit up all of the infantry, and hopefully get in a good amount of damage. And there we go. At the cost of the Scourge Runner, I've hit all of the infantry there, and in the meantime I've also taken out a good number of goblins. So a pretty good trade in my book. Actually, I hit about like over half the army of the Dark Elves here. Just absolutely crazy amounts of damage, and now even a potential to snipe out Grom. So I'm going to bring in my double Manticore and hopefully get a nice surround on him with my cavalry. Have some Cold One Knights to support in this situation, so I feel like I should be able to snipe him out. I'll increase Marathi's buffs to make sure that Grom is taking as much damage as possible, and I have more Soul Stealers at the ready in case I need to engage onto these stone trolls. My infantry is moving in too to support. I have my chariots coming back, so I'm feeling pretty confident here. The Slaanesha's Harvesters too have their own Soul Stealer, and I'm going to throw that down onto these stone trolls. Oh, hopefully taking them out. It's going to be a lot of damage all at once, and hopefully a pretty big leadership debuff. I'm thinking I should be able to chase them all off, and it looks like I will be with just some crazy AoEs. This is essentially exactly how Ice Power tends to play, and it looks like it's working out pretty well so far, with the stone trolls now getting routed off. Essentially all I have to do is chase them and make sure that they don't come back. So let's go ahead and follow them, and as I do that, already a pretty clean GG. So not bad for a start today. Wow, that AoE was pretty crazy. Let's look at Marathi's value real quick. We were only just getting into the game, already 1600 value. Very good. And yeah, oh man, it's really strong because it punishes blobs while picking apart at the rest of the army too. Very brutal, and as long as you control it well enough, it seems like it works out. Norsca versus the Dowie, game number 2. If we win this, match is done. I have tons of tools to defeat gyrocopters, but it looks like no gyros today. Instead, a Dowie formation. A little bit loose, some miners, some dwarf warriors. Nothing too crazy. And all I gotta do get my skirmishers to dive in where needed. I'll use my manticores to, I guess, hit up these troll hammer torpedoes, maybe the thunderers too, and then my caster can go ahead and final transmutation this big old blob, getting in crazy amounts of damage, and hopefully pulling out a pretty smooth victory from there. I don't really need to do a full surround on this formation either. There's no real point to fully surrounding them, since I just need to get into the juicy center, all these range units. And if I split up my forces too much, I'll have a hard time actually breaking through the lines. Now, these blasting charges are probably the biggest threat to my forces here. And the Marauder Horsemen, it's going to be their duty to throw themselves at those blasting charges to actually shut them down. So, I don't want to keep my horsemen in there longer than I have to, but I definitely want them to actually disrupt them. Otherwise, my marauders will be taking quite a few hits. The goal is trying to get the dwarves to blob up so that I can get that final transmutation off. So the manticores are diving in. The marauder horsemen will be going right on into the blasting charges. One of my manticores gets rampage, but we are now in the cookie jar. My caster, with his cycle charging, should be able to do fairly well too. And there we go. It looks like the blasting charges are now getting shut down. Now the final transmutation can hit too, and hopefully get most of these guys killed off. And then Wulfric is going to dive right on in there to start killing as many dwarves as he can. My Marauder Horsemen can disengage since the blasting charges are now shut down. And then Wulfric is going to be trying to push through. My Chariot should also try and push through too. And we'll see how this goes. Wulfric doesn't want to stay in the fight against the Slayers for too long. He will slowly get picked apart, and he wants to be bouncing around as much as possible, much like a Chariot. Let's see, there's a Grombrindle in here too, fairly low HP. I'll slow him down with Wulfric's ability, and then start bringing in some of my horsemen into the back. The reason I'm doing that, because I want my horsemen to start disrupting these guns, and also to chase off as many dwarf units as they can. They can throw their javelins into the Slayers, then hopefully that'll do okay. We've already seen a few of the dwarf units get routed off, so things are going decent here. I just have to make sure that Wulfric doesn't take too much damage. Marauder horsemen, they'll be spreading themselves out to cover as much area as they can. And as for my Chariot Lord, he needs to continue bouncing around the front line of the dwarves so I can actually begin punching through that. A few Thunderers are routing off, which is very good, and the Marauder Horsemen are immediately going to chase them off. Same with these Quarrelers, and as long as my throwing axes can continue getting these range units to rout, I'll be feeling very, very comfortable. Now, let's take stock of the situation real quick. There are still a unit of Troll Hammer torpedoes that I have to deal with, and some Slayers that are chasing Wulfric, but with my front line now collapsing through, I should be perfectly fine, since I can send in my Marauders to fight the Slayers, and that'll be a very favorable fight for them. Or if not favorable, they will trade extremely cost effectively. Wulfric 2 will do very well just bouncing through the back line, and a few more boats should be able to help quite a bit too. By chaining Wulfric through this flank, he works quite well in that he's basically constantly getting charges on the dwarves and is able to just keep on terror routing them. So it's a really easy way of breaking through the front line, and we can see like that I have already broken through, and can now start pressuring these range units again, especially with my Chariot, who can just plow right on through these Thunderers and then into some Quarrelers in the back. As long as the range units are constantly shut down, I have no worries in the world. Just because in a straight up fight, the dwarves will lose to my axe throwers and the cycle charging of Wolfric. So it looks like, yeah, looks like things are going pretty good. Let's see, Grombrindle is chasing after Wolfric again. And given that there's no support here to actually help Grombrindle, I think it's about time I go for the death blow. I'm going to hit him with the Hunter of Champions to greatly reduce his melee defense. And then hopefully Wolfric can just finish him off nice and cleanly. I'll keep a close eye on him though, just in case, because I would really not want Wolfric to die here. That would be an extremely bad situation. But it looks like his fight versus Grombrindle is going just fine. So I should be good as long as no range units come in to support. Let's see, how's Grombrindle doing? Extremely low HP. Wolfric may look low, but he still has 3000 HP. More than enough to survive. And there we go. Grombrindle should be down in one more hit. There's no more ranged units for the dwarves. I even have another final transmutation I could throw down here. So even if the rest of the hits from Wolfric are misses, that's going to kill off Grombrindle. And indeed it does. And that's going to be GG. Ooh, yeah, Wolfric doing the laps indeed. Oh my goodness. I had to concentrate on that quite a bit. I wanted to look at chat, but too much concentration. Things got a little bit dicey there with the blasting charges hitting my axe throwers, but they still got their value, barely. My horsemen did really good for chasing things off. The manticores were sort of just suiciding. I think I could have been a bit more careful with them, but it still worked out okay. The dwarf build, most of their range units were shut down, and the fact that the blasting charges didn't pay for themselves is the sign of some good success. And look at those final transmutations too. But yeah, there we go, GG. So here we go. Match up against J Phoenix. I forgot. RTK. Whoops, RTK. J Phoenix. There we go. Did I spell that correctly? I think I did. I did. All right, let's do this. So High Elves against Dark Elves. The army gonna be Sisters of Averlorn coming in with the fire damage up against my Chill of Sontar meme requested by Hadri's himself. I'm gonna have to be very careful with it. But if my front line can break through, I think I'll be okay. There's an Alariel the Radiant too. And she comes in with a Tempest. Nope, no Tempest, just some healing. So I'm wondering what she's going to be doing in this battle. Presumably, I guess, what? Just putting in heals on cavalry, really. Nothing too crazy. And I'm just going to be advancing directly forwards. My executioners will be taking a bit of damage. Absolutely no problem. As they are quite tanky, and like I said earlier, they do reasonably well in situations where they're at low HP. But these Sisters of Avalorn too. As the engage goes down, I can throw down a pendulum on top of them. Actually take out quite a few models, or at least knock them down temporarily. As for these dragon princes, I can harry them with my crossbow riders. And with my front line now engaged, I feel like I should be able to win this situation fairly well. The front line caught up. The front line should collapse rather quickly for the elves, as I do have so many. Let's see. Yeah, the front line should go fairly well. I have a ton of executioners in the front, and as long as the Sisters of Avalorn don't do too much damage, I should be fine. But shutting them down is really important, using pendulums, of course, and I need to break through to actually shut down these sisters as quickly as I can. The cavalry too is going to be a little bit scary, and one of my executioners has fallen to these sisters, but I do still have my crossbows alive, and they can actually start taking out a few models of these sisters. I have the executioners too, doing fairly well against the dragon princes, and the Chill of Sontar, surprisingly enough, has helped kill quite a few dragon prince models here along the flank. So, doing okay. Some of these dragon princes are able to sneak past into my backline though, chasing my crossbow riders, and we'll see if I'm actually able to keep them alive, splitting them up and firing in onto the dragon princes. Hopefully they'll be able to take them out, and the goal right now is just trying to shut down these sisters. They are getting chased by some infantry, which is good, but the dragon princes are converging, and it looks like they may be able to retreat, but as long as they're constantly running away, I'm feeling fairly confident about my chances here. The crossbow riders here are going to have to pull in a lot of work to shut down the dragon princes, but with their mobility, that shouldn't be too much of a task. As for the sisters, they of Averlorn, they will be getting chased off by my corsairs. I have spears at the ready to defend, and as long as these crossbow riders stay alive, I think I'll be okay. I also have some pendulums backed up and ready to go if needed. And the pendulums will be very good for actually killing them off if they decide to stand and shoot, which they are doing now. I'll throw one down onto these guys, see if I can actually take out a few models here. Looks like there is a dodge coming in from J Phoenix, but I do hit quite a few of these sisters, and hopefully they don't take too many models out from my army. There is a bit of a problem right now in that I don't really have too much infantry right now, which is pretty scary. There is still a lot of cavalry too for the high elf, so I'm actually going to disengage a little bit and try to get into a safer position first before I move in for a second engagement. I want my crossbow riders alive to shut down any I want my crossbow riders alive to shoot any dragon princes, and after the dragon princes are down, I'll be feeling much more comfortable. As for right now, it's a little bit scary since these Sisters of Averlorn are at such high HP. So we'll have to see what I can do about this situation. I will be able to pick off quite a few units of spears, and there is an alternative win condition where they just run out of ammunition shooting at my infantry. So I'll see if I can pull that off. And in the meantime, I'll just be continuing to take out units of infantry where I can. A huge heal does come down from Alariel. You will be able to heal up quite a few of these dragon princes, which is definitely unfortunate. But if we look at the ammunition, the Sisters of Averlorn are slowly running out of ammo, which is very good for me. They still have enough ammunition to kill the Chill of Sontar if I'm not careful though. So carefulness is going to be the name of the game, and dodging as much as possible too, to slowly wear them out while regrouping my army and using my crossbow riders to get the actual damage. I want to dodge with them as much as possible before the sisters actually take them out, and if I can keep that up, the Chill of Sontar should carry in the late game, surprisingly enough. Now the crossbow riders, they have taken a lot of damage, but things are still going fairly well here. The Sisters of Averlorn continuing to fire in onto them. I'll need to disengage on that front. And now I do have some of my corsairs engaged. The only problem is that they are going to get taken out by some dragon princes. Definitely not fully optimal. I can return fire though. And with the Chill of Sontar coming on up, hopefully it can deal with those Sisters of Averlorn, but it looks like they will be able to ward it off with a little bit of fire onto that Chill of Sontar. It actually takes a crazy amount of damage. Now engaged on by dragon princes, and this could be bad, especially if I lose the Chill of Sontar. But it does buy time for my crossbow riders to kill off the dragon princes, and it will get a healing proc in just a second, I think. There we go, the healing does go down. Killed off most of the Sisters of Averlorn. But will the Chill of Sontar hold is going to be a really big question. Another volley from the sisters will actually get it to rout, and that is a very bad situation now. Essentially, I have no more cavalry, and the dragon princes are beginning to chase it off, but it's not over yet. As long as it doesn't shatter, I should be in a decent position. And it looks like the the Chill of Sontar may be able to rally if I'm careful enough here. The volleys of repeater crossbow fire will do well up against the Dragon Princes. And it looks like I've even killed off these Sisters of Averlorn, which will be very important here as I continue to try and save the Chill of Sontar. I have my crossbows firing in onto the Dragon Princes, trying to slow them down. The next goal is slowing down Alarielle, since if I can actually get this thing to rally, then I'll have a huge single entity to actually take on the fight with a lot of healing. And there we go. I do pin down Alarielle. The Chill of Sontar gets its second heal off. And guys, I think there's hope, because now I've routed off one of the Dragon Princes. Alarielle is bound up and stuck on my repeater crossbows. They can actually pin her down with their mass. And then the Chill of Sontar can come in, breath attack these Dragon Princes, and then hopefully kill off Alarielle. Let's see how well that does. The breath misses entirely, but I still have my crossbow riders, and now with it diving in, we'll see if it can make the big plays that I need. Hopefully some big hits on Alarielle. Sisters of Averlorn are back up and firing onto my forces, and I want to shut them down with my repeater crossbows, but I can't really afford to do that right now. Instead, I'm going to have to focus on these Dragon Princes, as they are the much bigger threat up against my single entities. And the Chill of Sontar, it does rout off the Dragon Princes. Do have a few units of crossbow riders left, so I think as soon as I shut down these Sisters of Averlorn, I may be in a decent situation. Alarielle does land too. I'm going to try and chase her off at this point. And if I can manage that, that would cause a pretty nice victory for me. Ammunition is now out for the High Elves. And here we go. The Chill of Sontar coming on in towards Alarielle. I'm going to use the last breath attack, but it looks like she's going to be disengaging instead. And that's going to be pretty scary, but my caster is no joke in combat. She is actually quite decent, and if she can chase off Alarielle, that'd be great, but she does manage to take off. And that's going to be pretty unfortunate. Now, I do still have my Corsairs able to skirmish, so I am free to cycle charge to my heart's content. Chill of Sontar with its breath attack too will help a lot against this infantry. I am firing, so I will be able to disengage my lord, and a pretty nice breath attack on those spears. It looks like it will be able to mostly get them into routing range. These Dragon Princes too will be last samurai'd, finished off by my crossbow riders, I think. It looks like they do manage to make contact. But look at that. Chill of Sontar does manage to rout off these units of infantry. And the balance of power is back in my favor, guys. Look at this beast. It's at its heal cap now. The game has gone on long enough where its regeneration has really secured a position. And now for the infantry of the High Elves, it's just the Sisters of Averlorn and 7 Dragon Princes. Looks like they might get healed up by Alarielle, but no problem. I'll even have a pendulum in about 3 minutes. So it's going to be a while. Of course, the Arcane Conduit will help on that front, but yeah, it's going to be some time before the pendulum actually will come into play. At the very least, though, I can use this time to chase off these Sisters of Averlorn, and that's going to be a huge area of value for the High Elves shutdown. The goal is to charge them with the Chill of Sontar, and then charge them in the back with these Dark Riders. And then hopefully that's enough to break their leadership. A few Dragon Princes that are around aren't too threatening. And Alarielle looks like she might even land in on some spears. And that's actually a pretty bad situation for her, because that does allow my lord to come in and possibly snipe her out. She's going to be taking a little bit of damage. Charge on top of her. And will I be able to kill her? It's a hot question. And you know what? I'm going to hit her with the debuff. Increase the ward save on my lord. And in the end, she does decide to disengage. As for these Sisters of Avalorn, they are actually going to be a bit of a problem here. My lord does get chased by some dragon princes. I'm going to bring in the Chill of Sontar to support her. And we'll see if this works. The dragon princes are very beat up. It is just the Chill of Sontar now. And these Sisters of Avalorn, their leadership actually held up fairly well. Maybe I should have saved that pendulum instead of debuffing Alarielle. But this should be fine. The dragon princes skirmishing around. Let's see. I've already disengaged the Chill of Sontar, so I can't really do much on that front to charge back into the Sisters of Avalorn. So instead, I'm just gonna chase down the dragon princes. I'll stick with the Chill of Sontar, and hopefully with my lord now catching the dragon princes, I can actually get a few kills here. I have another enfeebling foe too, if needed. And there we go, a massive hit from the Chill of Sontar. It does actually kill quite a few dragon princes. So that's very good. Whoops, my lord actually disengages there for a second. So I'm going to avoid the charge attack and just march her right into these spears so that things aren't unfair. Now Alarielle does land. She does get a pretty nasty hit on my lord, but will the Chill of Sontar be able to take her out? A pretty nasty hit. I'm spamming attacks on her, but it looks like she may be able to disengage, and she does. That's pretty unfortunate, since the leadership of this will be getting hit as my lord routes off the battlefield, but as Alarielle leaves the area of these spearmen, we may be able to push them into some Terra route territory. The leadership of the Chill of Sontar is at 35, so even if my lord dies, it will still be able to hold. It routes off a single unit of spears, and it should be able to route off another in just a second. Alarielle is really bad at chasing lords too, so my lord may be able to run for quite a while before actually dying, and that should do wonders for the leadership here. Still though, it's going to be close. The leadership now for the Chill of Sontar is much lower at 21, and if my lord dies or leaves the battlefield, I think that might be it. That could actually cause a big leadership break for the Chill of Sontar. So we'll see if it's enough. These spears are on the verge of routing. My lord is getting escorted off by Alarielle, and it really depends on how well the leadership situation holds here. These spearmen should break off in just a second. Come on, break off. 0 leadership, that's what I need. But now, my lord leaving. It looks like the Chill of Sontar is gonna be breaking. It's at 6 leadership, but it does route off the spears. Brings up its leadership back to 14. Terra routes another unit of spears. And we're back in business, guys. The Chill of Sontar just barely keeping it together. It's just a few Sisters of Avalorn now, and they're going to be taking a lot of damage. The leadership now increasing again, fluctuating between 30 and 14, and there we go. It routes off the Sisters of Avalorn and now can finish off this unit of Silverin Guard, which means essentially it's just Alarielle left at this point. The Silverin are now routed. I can go ahead and chase off the Sisters of Avalorn, and then I think I'll be good. Yes, Pendulum would have. I think Pendulum would have helped, but there we go. The Sisters of Avalorn are now gone. It's just the Chill of Sontar versus Alarielle and a few units of Silverin Guard. They should get routed off pretty easily via Terror. And then it should be the win. Not even close. Oh, but a heal from Alarielle. Last minute heal is actually going to be pretty scary. Silverin, of course, have their crazy stats. There are only 12 of them, but the main problem is the leadership on my Chill of Sontar. I definitely don't want the leadership to break here, because if it does, that's just going to be an instant loss. Yes, 2 Cold One Knights would have won the game a while ago. That is for sure. But still, it was a very fun game. And nice, another hit on the Sisters of Avalorn. should be going down in just a second. Alariel sort of dancing around. And nice. Yep, look at this boy slithering in. His leadership is 34, so even if Alariel charges him in the back, he shouldn't get routed off. The biggest problem really would be if the hit points. If he takes too much damage from Alariel, then that would actually result in a loss. It's gonna take a hot second to actually escort these sisters off the map too. So we'll just chill and relax in the meantime. Why not disengage and go after the spears? It's because I really don't want these Sisters of Averlorn to rally. If they rally, it could cause some issues later on. This is risking another heal. That is true. I guess another heal is a bit risky, so we'll dive into the Silverin Guard now, and we'll see if I'm able to actually rout them off with Terror. They're at 26 leadership, and they will have their charged defense against all. Sisters of Averlorn come back too, but Alariel's decently far away, so we may see a very quick leadership break here on the Silverin. Chill of Sontar gets 2 attacks in, and it's an instant rout on these guys. And now we'll see if I can actually kill off Alariel. A tail attack on the Chill of Sontar, but Alariel lands another hit, and that's gonna be it. Alariel with the charge in the back routs it off immediately. And that's gonna be GG. Oh my goodness. And there we go. That's the game. This is essentially why you go for 2 more Cold One Knights instead of the Chill of Sontar. The cavalry is very important for chasing off things like the Sisters of Averlorn. And of course, fighting against the Dragon Princes. But it was still a very fun game. So GG. Another Pendulum could have won it for me too. But what can you do? And here we go. The Troll build up against the Bretonnians. It is crazy good against archers. We have Fey Enchantress, Double Paladin, and a bunch of hidden cavalry by the looks of it. Some Knights of the Realm, not super scary. And a few Grail Knights, slightly more scary. Now the Fey Enchantress, she can tank fireballs for days. Same with the Paladins. But with the Manticores, I should be able to do pretty good here. The Manticores can snipe out the heroes pretty easily, but for now I'm going to use them to rout off the Bretonnian frontline. I'm going to be spamming spells with Wulfric, and against all this cavalry I should be able to rout them off. Now, it's just advancing as quickly as possible. I'll Burning Head these spearmen at arms as soon as they clump up on my trolls, and then Wulfric can use his boat too in that situation. The archers are firing in, and we'll see how quickly we can get these lines to actually break. I'm going to send in the Manticores towards the center to try and rout these guys off, and then bring in the trolls along the flanks to hopefully start converging on some archers. There we go. The initial line has broken. Paladins are flying on in, and I have trolls now engaging on cavalry. We'll see how well they'll actually fare in that situation. The flanking trolls are doing fairly good, and I also have the Manticores engaged on the Paladin. They should actually be able to snipe them out pretty quickly. So let's see if that checks out. Some AoEs do come down. The archers are firing on in. The Paladin is nearly dead. The double Manticore has done a lot of work to him, and he's going to be gone. I've routed off some units of cavalry. The trolls are caught up in fights that they definitely want to be in. And now for another big charge of cavalry, we're going to have to see how well these guys do. My sorcerer actually is getting surrounded. Very big misplay on my part. He does manage to throw down a Burning Head onto some peasants before getting routed off though. So it's not a terrible situation. Balance of power is fairly even. And it depends on how well these Manticores do now up against the Paladins. There is still a Paladin over here. I'm going to try and intercept him to take him out. I have my Manticore at the ready. And then, yeah, we'll just see if I can snipe him. He's in a bit of a precarious situation, so I should be able to pick him off with Wulfric. And to make sure that I don't get cycle charge, I'm using my trolls to shield for the rest of my army. Paladin now getting pretty low, is good, but balance power slowly slipping out of my favor. My left flank is still doing fairly well, but I may experience a few terror routes now, and that would be quite bad. I have routed off the paladin though, and we'll see if these knights actually break off my troops. Wulfric has a fight or die in just a second, and as soon as that's up, I'm going to be feeling a lot more comfortable here, since my troops won't be routing off. And there we go, it does go down, and a lot of these Bretonnian knights should be getting pulled down by my mass trolls. The Grail Knights, though, are still very scary, and that's probably one of the bigger problems that I have to contend with right now. The Fey Enchantress, too, is still pretty healthy, and my caster has barely gotten any of his magic off. So I'm going to disengage with him, try and find a better position for him, while routing off peasant archers at the same time. I'm also going to be trying to disengage from these peasants, since the fight is getting pretty gnarly here. And as for these Grail Knights, they are still posing a pretty big problem. Now, I do have 2 Manticores. I will be able to chase off all of these archers at the very least. And then I need to find a way to deal with these Grail Knights. How many trolls do I have left? Actually, quite a few, as when they rout off, it can be pretty hard for the cavalry to catch them. So that's going to be pretty good, but we'll see how this plays out. The Grail Knights are still pretty scary. A lot of my trolls will be rallying though, but my caster again looks like he's going to be getting caught up. I'm going to bring in Wulfric to try and save him, but that's going to be no guarantee. It takes some pretty heavy damage from these Knights of the Realm, and I think if there was going to be a misplay this game, it's that my caster is just absolutely dying unnecessarily without getting any real damage to speak of. Still though, things are going okay with the routing troops. My rallying troops are going to be coming back in just a second. I may lose one of my Manticores though to save Wulfric, and it looks like that's going to be the case. Still though, my core assets are still alive. I'm regrouping. I have burning heads. So we'll see if this is able to carry out a victory. I still have more burning heads on the way, and we're just trying to regroup at the moment. Specifically, I want this fire sorcerer to come back. His leadership is coming back, and there we go. He does just barely manage to rally. Hopefully it stays that way, and I'll leave him in place so that his leadership can begin recovering. Looks like in the presence of Wulfric, it will recover fully, and he'll use his next burning head to deal with the peasant bowmen. I have a Manticore and Wulfric to snipe out the Fey Enchantress, and I still have 4 units of trolls. A few marauders too to help out the situation. It'll all come down to whether or not I can snipe out the Fey Enchantress. So pretty close game so far. Looking fairly okay. The Grail Knights are somewhere in the forest, though I'm not sure exactly where they are. And we're gonna have to slowly advance towards the Bretonnians now, saving that burning head specifically for the archers. A few peasant mobs are going to be holding up the front line, and the archers have revealed themselves, which is good for me. I'll know where I'll want to throw down my abilities. And there we go, another volley coming on in. I'll be able to dodge that, and then hopefully hit them with a boat. Looks like the boat lands, gets in a good amount of damage, and now for the frontline fight. I've routed off the archers. I'm going to leave a few trolls in reserve for a charge, and for a counter charge that is, while I rout off these Bretonnian peasants. Let's see, Fey Enchantress does dive in onto Wulfric though. And here we go. The big play. Will I be able to snipe her out? I'm throwing down all of my debuffs onto her, and we're just going to try and kill her. I have tons of trolls on the flanks to fight the Grail Knights. I even have a burning head to rout off all these Bretonnian peasants. And hopefully that's enough. Though we'll have to see. The Grail Knights will be eating a fireball to the face. Hopefully that's enough to deal with them. The burning head too actually could be a pretty big problem also for my trolls, as it does reduce their leadership, and it's gonna be a sketchy situation. The Fey Enchantress is quite low at this point. I do have yet more trolls to charge these guys in the back. And will Wulfric be able to kill her off? We'll see. She is now fully surrounded. It looks like she may even get routed off by the Manticore. And if I can get a kill on her, that would be a huge leadership break. But these Grail Knights are probably going to be my biggest problem. They are elite Bretonnian cavalry. And although the trolls do have AP, they have very high melee defense stats. It looks like they might be able to pull through. The Manticore is now gone, though still providing terror. Ooh, but it looks like that's gonna be it. GG. GG, well played. And there we go. Oh, man. Oh, my caster play was so bad that game. The Burning Heads just coming in really late. That was definitely it. The Grail Knights, too. Of course, the good micro of J Phoenix did pull through. But if I had to pinpoint the misplay, it would definitely be that. Of course, there were many other elements too, but the troll build does hold up fairly well. All the ice trolls did pay for themselves. The normal trolls a little bit less. But still, not a terrible army. You do actually rout off troops pretty quickly. And with enough AoEs, if you kill off the archers, you're good to go. All I needed was a Frostworm. Yeah, for sure.